Hello friends, I am glad to see you again. Today I want to show you how to orchestrate the melody for woodwinds, horns and string sections. Okay, let's listen to original piano score. Our today's lesson is about code voicing between horns and woodwinds. Therefore, I'm giving the melody to first violins, second violins and violas in 3 octaves. So, let's start code voicing. First of all, I have to make the code for this melody. As we said in our previous lessons, it is allowed to transform and to expand the codes. Now is the time to do it. Our first bar is in D minor, and it is enough to start with this. Next, all bars will be made as a similar principle. I'm writing D, D, A, D notes in the bass clef and the F, A, D, F, A notes in the treble clef. As you see, I wrote wide parts in the low register and close part in the middle and the high register. There's a question why I write wide part harmony in the low and close parts in the high range. Let's analyze. All sounds consist of partial tones. For example, when a musical instrument produces a C2, sound vibrates several times and other sounds also appear. The attention of the ear focuses only on the fundamental frequency. But there are also several partials and they all sound at the same time, which you normally don't hear. Because these partials are heard as much weaker than fundamental. Eventually, they all vibrate simultaneously and appear to us like single C note. Okay, now we know that each sound has fundamental and partial tones, which sound simultaneously. Let's have a look to all partials of the D minor chord. I want to analyze all low, low medium, medium and high chords in the D minor. As we know, the normal hearing frequency range of healthy young person is about 20 to 20,000 Hz. But best musical range for comfortable hearing is approximate between G3 and G5. In this range, the hearing experience is much greater and you hear overtones more strongly. Therefore, human ear easily could detect all in tune and out of tune sounds in this area. I want to remind once again that this range is approximate. It could be a little bit high or low than this range. Now let's look what happens if you write chords in different ranges and what we will face. So let's start with low chord. If play D2, it means there are several partials, which sounds at the same time with fundamental. The fundamental tone is D2, which we play on the piano. Fundamental tone is also called as first partial. Second partial is D, third is A, fourth is D, fifth is F sharp, sixth is A, and seventh is C. For clearly explaining, I am stopping at seventh partial, because if write all partials, this series goes on infinity. Now look at carefully. So we have D and A notes in D minor. Therefore I'm painting them in blue. We haven't F sharp and C notes in D minor. Therefore I'm painting them in red. If play F2, partials will be arranged as F, C, F, A, C and E flat. We have F and A notes in D minor, but we haven't C and E flat in D minor. When play A2, it means there are also A, E, A, C sharp, E and G notes which sound simultaneously. We have A note in D minor, but E, C sharp and G notes out of tune of D minor chord. Let's analyze this chord. Conclusion. So, when you play D minor chord in close part harmony in the low range, you should know that C, C sharp, E flat, E, F sharp and the G notes also will sound, because these partials have a rich sound and more audible, and these partials are in the approximate best range for human hearing range. Let's move to the next chord and have a look what happens. If played D minor chord between low and medium range, partials are less noticeable, because partials gradually left the best hearing area of human. Next chord in the middle range. So partials are less audible than previous chord, because they come out in the far away of the hearing. If play D minor chord in the high range, partials are completely inaudible. So C, C sharp, E flat, E, F sharp and the G notes are not risky in the sounding. Conclusion. Now you know the partials coming from low chord are more audible. But if moved to upper register, partials are less audible. Therefore, it would be better to delete some notes in the low range for reducing C, C sharp, E flat, E, F sharp and the G notes in the D minor chord. The best choice is to write perfect octave in the low range, but it is also possible to write perfect fifths and fourths in the low range depending on the chord. So let's start to share the D minor chord between instruments. Woodwind section is in pairs, which means we have 2 flutes, 2 oboes, 2 clarinets and 2 bassoons. I want to remind, for clearly understanding, all instruments will be written in C score. There are several types of chord voicing in orchestration. Today I am going to show you a few types of chord voicing. But before beginning to orchestrate, I want to talk about dynamic levels. Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov wrote in his The Principles of Orchestration book that in piano passages, the French horn and all woodwind instruments are of fairly equal balance. So it is enough to give each voice to one instrument. However, as the dynamic levels increases, woodwind instruments should be doubled to obtain balance within the French horns. Because in mezzo forte or in forte, French horn is twice as stronger than any woodwind instrument. In this case, for getting equal balance within horns, you should give each voice to 2 woodwind instruments. So let's do it on example. D minor chord is in the piano marking. In my opinion, it would be better to start the orchestration with French horns, then low woodwinds, and finally high woodwinds. So I'm giving the A, D, F notes to 4 French horns. The lower D2 take only first bassoon, because in piano marking horns and woodwinds are equal. We have A, D, F, A notes in the high range. So A and D notes go to clarinets. High F and A notes are in the flutes. As you see, the dynamic marking is piano for all instruments. and we get equal balance between horns and woodwinds. Second option of this example is to give high F and A notes to oboes. As you see, the same chord has a different sound in various voicing. You could use both types in your score. Let's orchestrate the chord if dynamic marking is mezzo forte. Again, D, A, D, F notes go to 4 French horns, but low D2 taken by both bassoon players, because in mezzo forte, horn is twice as louder than bassoon. In this case, bassoon part should be doubled to obtain balance within the French horns. We have 4 voices above the horns part, which should be doubled: A, D, F, and A. It means that we need 8 instruments to double each voice. But we have only 6 instruments: 2 flutes, 2 oboes, 2 clarinets. How to orchestrate these? First, don't double the third voice of the chord. In our case, F note is the third voice of the chord. Second, double oboe part. Because oboe has a penetrating sound, it is better to soften it with flutes and clarinets. So, it is obvious that 2 flutes should take high F and A notes. D and A go to oboes. A and D go to clarinets. As you see, we follow both rules. First, we didn't double F note. Second, high A note of first oboe softened by first flute, and the low D note of the second oboe softened by first clarinet. Now we have done the good chord voicing using the opportunity available to us, because we have less woodwind instruments. If woodwinds in 3, you could double each voice and get the best balance within horns and woodwinds. You also could use this voicing when dynamic is forte. So let's move to the next chord voicing. These ones French horns will play A, D, F, A notes. We have D2 and D3 below the horn parts. As we said, when dynamic marking is piano, one horn is equal to one woodwind instrument. So, first bassoon take D3 and second bassoon take D2. There are D, F, A notes above the horn parts. First clarinet take D4. Second flute take F4 and the first flute take A4. You could alternate flutes part to oboes. All voices remain unchanged. Second oboe take F4 and the first oboe take A4. Let's orchestrate same chord when dynamic marking is mezzo forte. Again, French horns will play A, D, F, A notes. And we have D2 and D3 below the horn parts. So, first bassoon take D3 and second bassoon take D2. But bassoon parts are weaker than horn parts. As you see, we haven't added a woodwind instrument to double D2 and D3 notes. In this case, you should use cellos and contrabasses for getting equal balance. So, cellos take D3 and contrabasses take D2. Now the bass line is reinforced. There are 3 voices above the horn parts, D, F, A. And we have 6 woodwinds. Clarinets and flutes have a soft sounding, but oboes have a penetrating sounding. As I said, it would be better to soften oboe sound using flutes and clarinets. So, 2 flutes take F and A note. Clarinets take D and F. Oboes take D and A. We also could alternate voicing of high woodwinds. Contrabasses, cellos, horns and bassoons remain unchanged. But flutes take A note in unison. Oboes and clarinets take the same D and F. Both types of voicing are useful. Difference is only in sounding. You also could use this voicing when dynamic is forte. So, we have done the chord voicing. Let's move to our texture. Firstly, we should make all harmony on a piano. Blue color shows the bassoons, cellos and contrabass parts. Red is the color of horn parts. Green shows the high woodwinds. Let's start chord voicing. As I talked in our previous lessons, French horn should be ridden perfect fifths higher than sounding. First and third player take high voices of the chord. Second and fourth player take low voices. The dynamic marking is mezzo forte. Both bassoons take D3. I'm writing A2 and the dynamic marking is mezzo forte. Cellos take D3 and contrabasses take D2. Now let's write high woodwinds part. I want to add the drive to score. Therefore, high woodwinds will play the chord as short 16th note. So, 2 flutes take F and A. The dynamic marking is mezzo forte. Oboe has a penetrating sound and it is very useful to get more audible sounding over the horns. This character of oboe will help the chord to be heard more clearly. I'm giving A note to first oboe and reinforcing the flute part. Now, the high voice of the chord more powerful and audible. Second oboe takes D4. The dynamic marking is mezzo forte. Second clarinet takes A and first clarinet takes D note. The dynamic marking is mezzo forte. I'm writing 16th rest at the end of 4th bar, because woodwinds players need a little time for breathing, especially in loud passages. If you don't give a breathing time, you should know that player will get tired after a few bars, and you don't get good sounding. Maybe some professional orchestra players could play these 8 bars out of breathing, but for safety, you'd better to write res in the score. So our semi-orchestral texture is completed. Thank you for watching. See you soon.